Coming out seeming to agree with Kevin McCarthy, who I know told you and your colleagues that he does want some sort of stopgap funding measure to last through September, but wants to make sure that it ends in early December so something can get done with enough time before you're stuck here potentially in a shutdown over Christmas. Would you sign up for that?
Well, I don't think we're going to have much choice. I think, it's somewhat optimistic, to say the least, to think that we could get 11 appropriation bills done in the 12 legislative days that we've got in September before October 1st, when, of course, our budget starts. So it's practical and it's pretty obvious we're going to have a temporary CR. And yeah, I think I'd be in agreement with that. However, what you have to keep in mind is that we have a Republican majority in the House now. A CR continues all of the policies that were in place and put in place by the Democratic majority from the previous session. That's what we don't want. And we want to end those as soon as possible. So that's where the urgency is, if you will, with the Republican majority in the House, is that we want our policies in place, not the Democratic policies that are in place right now.
So let's talk about reality then, Congressman, because you have a unique perspective being on the Budget Committee. Once this short-term solution is put in place, assuming that happens, you're the one who goes to work with your Republican and Democratic colleagues to actually hammer something out here. And when it comes to appropriations, you've got some catching up to do with the Senate. They've cleared 12 appropriation bills from committee, at least. The House has cleared one. Can you catch up in the frame of time that we're discussing here?
I would like to think that we can. And if we set our mind to it, yes, we can. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. But, yes, we can do it if we are determined to do it. And I believe that this conference is determined to do just that. It's going to take a lot of compromise. And ours is a very diverse conference. We've got a lot of people who are fiscal hawks who want us to have a balanced budget, who want us to cut. We've got others who are in swing districts who feel like, we've got to have funding for certain projects. So it's not an easy task. But if we put our mind to it, yes, we can get it done.
Well, what's your response to some of your colleagues who actually want to see a shutdown, who think it's a good idea, actually?
Well, therein lies the problem. And I will tell you, I've been through shutdowns, and shutdowns are not a good idea. They don't do anybody any good, Republican, Democrat, Independent. A shutdown should be the last thing we want to happen. I get it. I know the message that it sends, and I know that it's another tool in the tool chest, but it's not a good one, because keep in mind, well, you have programs that shut down. You have to restart them. That costs money. Government employees continue to get paid. It's just not a good scenario for a shutdown. So I hope it does not come to that.
It's funny how you hear different stuff from different people on Capitol Hill. Congressman, your colleague, Bob Good, was pretty strident about this, saying don't fear the shutdown. In fact, we don't do anything good here in Washington anyway. The idea that this is the leverage that Republicans need to make good on the promises they made. Where is he wrong?
Well, I'm not going to necessarily say that Bob is wrong. Bob's a good friend, a close friend, and we agree on a lot of different things. But this is one thing that we don't agree on. I get it. I understand where Bob's coming from, and I understand where others who think like he does are coming from. But again, shutdown is just not good. A continuing resolution is really not good for the reasons that I noted before. We've taken an omnibus off the table. That was taken off the table during the time that we were electing a new speaker. So that's not going to be an option. So, you really only have two options. Pass those appropriation bills. Well, I guess three. Pass those appropriations bills, have a CR, or shut the government down.
Is there an order of priority for those appropriations bills on the House side?
Well, we got the military construction, the MILCON, done before we left. We were hoping to get the ag bill done before we left. We didn't get it done. There was some hangups there. We still got to do the farm bill, and not that that's necessary for the appropriations process, but to be quite honest with you got to get them all done. Now, we haven't ruled out minibuses. Keep in mind that minibuses are when you may take 3 or 4 or even 5 and put them together and pass them that way. That may be an option for us, too.
I suspect it might help with the timing here as well. Congressman, I have to ask you about politics in Georgia, specifically Republican politics in Georgia, a couple days after this fourth indictment dropped against Donald Trump. And it reminds us of the discord between Trump Republicans, your Governor Brian Kemp, other Republicans in the state. And I guess, without trying to litigate this indictment here on television today, I just wonder, how do you have both? We saw Republicans leave that blank, the presidential field blank in ballots during the midterm elections, knowing that the governor and other statewide Republicans like yourself would be going back to work following this election. What's going to happen this time? How do you have a Republican Party that can embrace both Donald Trump and Brian Kemp-style Republicans at once?
Well, that's a good question. If I had the magic formula, I'd probably be making a whole lot more money than I am right now. But the point is that we've got to come together. And we need to understand who the true enemy is here. And it's the Democratic policies. When I'm out in the district, I'm not hearing from people who are concerned about what the former president may have done to influence the election in 2018. What I'm hearing is Bidenomics are killing us, particularly core inflation, gas, groceries, staples that people need every day. That's what the problem is. And I think people are going to pull together because we can't take 4 more years of Bidenomics. I can tell you that. And people in my district, they want to change, and they want to see a change. Look, we've got to come together, and I think we will. I think there's a lot more faith in the voting system now that the Election Integrity Act was passed by the Georgia legislature, and I applaud them for doing that. But, this latest indictment, this is ridiculous. Here we've got a former president indicted for the 4th time by a justice system that's weighed against him. It just makes no sense. No one's above the law. We get that. But at the same time, this indictment in Georgia is not about justice. It's about revenge. And, there are 159 counties in the state of Georgia. If I had not known where this one was coming from, I would have guessed. I would have said, hey, I bet it's Fulton County. And it is Fulton County because Fulton County has long been a bastion for Democratic shenanigans in the state of Georgia. And now we're seeing it here.
What about Coffee County, though, Congressman? Donald Trump's legal team is accused of breaching the voting system there. If that's true, you might look at this differently, no?
Well, and that's why you have your day in court to find out if that's going to be true or not. I don't know whether it's true, to be quite honest with you. I don't know. Was there any cheating during the 2020 elections? I don't know. And I have resolved that I will probably never know. But I do know that there were significant and substantial changes made to the voting rules and regulations here in the state of Georgia that's going to make cheating harder and it's going to make voting easier. And I applaud the state legislature for doing that.
I want to just remind our viewers, Congressman, of among one of the indictments cited in this new indictment in Georgia was a phone call the former president had with the Secretary of State. Take a listen to how this went down.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Voters actually supported you in your district more than they supported the former president. Does it concern your voters who seem to back you more than the former president that he was asking the Secretary of State to basically find him votes?
Well, I'm not sure he was asking him to find him votes as much as he was just saying, look, it's close. This was and he is right. It was a very close election. And is it worth looking into it further? So, the semantics here, I think, are very important. The way people word things sometimes are different. I just don't know the answer to that. As far as my voters go, I'm concerned about them voting for me, and that's my primary objective right now, and for Republicans.